I don't want this video to be no more than 5 to 7 minutes. So I got to hurry up and jump into it, and really hit it, and then we need to move on. The number one B, you need to pull out a pencil and pad and write this down. If you plan on having a healthy marriage, you need to listen to me and pay close attention and write it down. Don't be saying, "Oh, it's on TV," because they might pull it down. I don't know. But anyway, the number one B is the Bible. That's the most important B. You can have this B and lose the other B's, and you're still gonna have a healthy, blessed marriage. All right. Number two is the bed. You need to make sure that you stay in it. You redo that covenant. You know. Number three is the budget. You got to make sure that you count up the costs, have everything spent on paper before you even pull out your money and know where your money is going. You control where your money is going. You don't have your money control you. You know what I'm saying? So let's get right into it. We're going to start off with the Bible. Why is the Bible so important to have in your marriage? Well, in anything in life, you need to make sure that you understand what the standards are. And when I say standards, you need to know what's right and what's wrong. Kind of like if you walk into, or not necessarily walk, when you drive to a parking lot and you're getting ready to go into a store, every lane or parking space has some lines to let everybody know, who's should be parking here, who's kind of overlapping into somebody else's line or parking space. That's what the Bible does. It kind of keep you in line as a husband and as a wife and let you know what you can and what you cannot do. And if you use that as the standard, then of course your marriage is going to be blessed because you're going to be following the rules. Another thing that we need to understand about marriage and the Bible is God clearly displays how we feel towards us in a relationship or marriage context. He constantly talked to us as his bride. He said he's married to us. Even though we just living foul, he still be like, yo, I'm married to somebody that's living foul and I'm trying to get them back, as my bride. And that's exactly what Christ did. He redeemed us and took us from our sinful nature and gave us a new heart, a new mind. And he plans on to present us to himself as a church without blemish, without wrinkle. So, so that's just it. The Bible clearly displays how God feels towards us. And then we need to take that on as far as how we feel towards our wives. I'm definitely more harder on men than I am on women because the spiritual connection with men, as far as men with God or the husband with God, definitely shows me where the marriage is. A lot of times the man fall off spiritually. A lot of times the marriage begin to get rocky. But if the man is on tune, praying for his wife, discipling his kids, praying to God, seeking his face, the marriage tends to be much better. So I'm definitely going to be hard on the men as far as being a husband. And if you get involved in any activity, whether it's driving, whether it's being an engineer, being a florist, or whatever your trade is, you definitely go into study and you start becoming a master at this. So you start, reading books, you start listening to sermons, or you start listening to lectures on the best way to do what it is that you're called to do. But for some reason, marriages, we just seem like, oh, I like this person, I'm just going to get married to him. We don't do any research. We don't do that fine studying. But for this thing, man, before you even think about getting married, you need to study what it means to be a husband and a father, biblically. A biblical husband and a biblical father, not what your grandfather or your uncle or what they told you. You need to understand what the Bible says about marriage. It says that we should love our wives the way Christ loved the church, and he gave his life for them. But if you constantly study what Christ did, he not only gave his life, he not only died for us. It's easy for a husband to die for their children or their wife because that is somebody shooting. Now, of course, I'm going to just jump in front of my wife and my son. I'm going to protect them, But one thing Jesus did in the garden before he went to the cross, he died to his will. And I think that's probably one of the most important deaths that you need to have as a husband is a lot of things you can't have, your way. It has to be biblically focused, centered on God, and the Bible needs to direct your will. Your will needs to line up with his will, because sometimes you can't sit back and watch the game every Sunday. You can't sit back and go to the basketball game or work on your hobby all the time. Sometimes you need to sit down and talk with your wife. You need to read to your children, take them to the park. I mean, you need to spend some quality time with your family and train them up in the ways of the Lord. So it's real easy for us to just get caught up in our own will and say, yeah, I died for my kids, but we're not dying to our own will for the sake of our children and our wives, you know. So if you want to be like Christ, you got to understand he died to his will before he died on the cross. Nevertheless, your will be done, not mine. You know, that's what he said. So that's what we need to say when it comes to times to, you know, watching the game or whatever we're doing. Nevertheless, your will be done, you know, not my will. All right. I think we kind of captured an overall sense of what the Bible means to the marriage. With this short amount of time, I can't really get into all the specifics, man. If you're a husband, read Ephesians 5 all the way. Everything it says, what it says about marriage, man, and actually talking about Christ and the bride, and it's a beautiful blend of, you know, explanation, and it has a dual, I'm not going to say a dual meaning, but it has a dual application. Okay, and the next one I plan on talking about is the bed. I got to go through this quick because I don't have a lot of time. I use a lot of time on the first B, which is the most important B. You know, you can have that B and not have the rest of the B and still be tight. The number 2B is the bed. You got to make sure you stay in it. You know, one of the reasons we have such a hard time, you know, especially me and my wife, who've been called to the youth, who've been called to marriages, married folk, and our biggest struggle is getting the single people out the bed and the married people in the bed. You know what I'm saying? For some reason, we always want what we can't have, and once we get it, it's like, well, it's all right. You know what I'm saying? We got to definitely spice up the love life around here, you know. A lot of times I tell my wife, I say, babe, if you got to think about how long it's been, that's too long. Like last week, no, that's too long. Like yesterday, day before yesterday. Like we need to renew that covenant, you know. And it's a lot easier for a man to go to a buffet line when he's full and somebody offer him something good. He's like, well, you know, no, I'm okay. I just ate. I'm fine, you know. But if somebody who's starving go to a jacked up restaurant where the food is nasty and everything, somebody be like, hey man, you want these such and such? They just fell on the floor. Yeah, I'm getting ready to smash them, you know. Hopefully, y'all, I don't have to go into too much explanation about that. But you know what actually needs to happen is either way it goes, the man should still have self-control, and that's one of the fruit of the spirit. So we definitely got to make sure that we are able to control ourselves, but at the same time, as a wife and as a husband, you guys need to come together so you won't be tempted in other areas, you know, when it comes to that. You need to come together often, you know. So, you know, I definitely appreciate the feedback I've been getting about this topic because I posted it before I even said anything. And the last B, I mean, the Bible even talks about that we should stay in the bed. You know, you need to read in Proverbs where it talk about your spring shouldn't flow out into the streets. You know, you should be satisfied from your own well, and may her, they should satisfy you all the days of your life. Anyway, let's get down to the number 3. The number 3 is the last B, and that is the budget. Oh man, it is so important for couples, especially when you get married, to come together as one. Not only should you be one in spirit, you should be one in flesh. You should be one as far as a bank account. You should have the same bank account. And everything that you have, you should pull out a piece of paper, write down a list of all the bills that you got, and then right next to it, write out all the income that you have. And then all the extra money, you need to put a plan in place to say, what are you going to do with this extra money? And have some money set aside for you to spend, have some money set aside for her to spend. And then all these emergencies that you think are emergencies, you need to plan for them too. So you know the car might break down, so you need to set some money aside. When it's not broken down, you need to set some money aside so when it do break down, it won't hit the bottom line. You say, oh, well, I already got money budgeted for this. It's easy. You know, it's a lot harder to grow in one when you spending the money and they spending money. When it comes down to it, you don't have the money to pay for the things that you need. You buy what you want, spend what you need. Buy what you want, spend what you need. You buy what you want and then can't afford what you need. That's really what I meant to say. So hopefully you enjoyed this. I don't have no more time left. My time is totally exhausted.